Back now with Craig Button. Craig, exactly 3 weeks ago today, the Florida Panthers were tops in the entire NHL in the battle for the President's Trophy. But they've been brutal lately. Just one regulation win in their last 10 games, and suddenly they might not even have home ice advantage in the opening round of the playoffs. On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried should Panther fans be about what's happening to their team right now?
I would say a two right now, Gino. They have shown through the course of the year in a big sample size that they are a very good, a very strong hockey team, still best in the league in goals against. So, despite their struggles in these last 10 games, they still have all the elements that give you confidence that this can be a team come playoff time that can go deep and win some rounds and beat some good teams. And that's what it's going to take if you want to go deep in the playoffs. But certainly, Paul Maurice shouldn't be happy. He isn't happy with the way they're playing, but it's better that it's happening now than if you're playing in your last week leading into the playoffs where you got to try to fix things. I'm not so sure that home ice is a big deal, but at the same time, you want to get your game in order. And that's going to be the task ahead for the Florida Panthers. They've shown for a large portion of this season that their game was very much in order. They just got to get back to that.
Not surprisingly, Leaf fans are watching really closely what's happening to the Panthers right now. Florida manhandled the Leafs in 5 in round 2 last year. Given what we've seen from the Panthers lately and what the Leafs have done lately, would they be in any better shape to face Florida again this season rather than last year?
I don't know. I believe that when you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, their previous iterations, they were formidable teams. And they were no less formidable last year, just that the Florida Panthers found an area where they could exploit, and they did, and they took advantage of that. I think for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it doesn't matter who they play. It matters now about getting their game to a point where they're comfortable grinding it out. The playoffs are about who can go the hardest, the longest. And it's easy to do it for 40 minutes. It's easy to do it for one game. It's easier to do it for 2 games. But when you got to win 4 games in a series, you got to stretch out long, hard hockey. And that means digging in, paying a price, and all the things that matter. So when the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing with that type of a mindset and that type of a commitment, they can be successful. If they're not, then they're not going to be successful. But that applies to every single team in this league. And certainly the Toronto Maple Leafs believe that they're more than capable of beating any team in the Eastern Conference. That's the mindset you have to have. But I don't think this is about, are they better positioned now or better positioned last year? I think this is about get yourself in the best position to get in there and play hard on a consistent basis. That means minute to minute through the course of an entire playoff series.
For a while, it looked like the Leafs didn't have much chance at home ice advantage in the opening round of the playoffs, especially if they faced the Panthers. But now the Leafs are just 4 back with 2 games in hand and another game still to come in Florida. How important would it be to have home ice advantage against them this year?
You know, you can't say it wouldn't be important, Gino. I think any team, given the opportunity to play a potential Game 7 on home ice, would take that at every point in time. But at the same time, all we have to do is look at the Florida Panthers. They were down 3 games to 1, had to come back for Game 5 versus Boston, won that. Then they ended up coming back for Game 7. They won that game. They started off on the road versus the Toronto Maple Leafs last year. They won three of their 4 games on the road. So when I look at home ice, yeah, you want it. Do I think it has real significant importance to have it once the playoffs begin? No, and it's for this reason. Because once the playoffs begin, you got to just go out and play. You got to beat the team across from you. I think players and teams are too comfortable, too familiar with playing in different arenas that aren't their home arena and feel that they can have just as much success away from home as they do at home.
For the record, history doesn't bode well for the Toronto Maple Leafs when they're the road team. The last time the Leafs won a series without home ice advantage in the playoffs, that was 23 years ago in the opening round against the Ottawa Senators.